Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our International Ground Rounds. Very pleased to have the new speaker today is Dr. Rishi Mandavia, who is recently elected as a chair of the European Academy of Facial Plastic Surgery Juniors. Good morning, good afternoon, Rishi.
Hi, good afternoon.
Great to see you and great to have you here, of course. So I've requested Rishi to discuss a little bit about some plans for the Junior European Academy of Facial Plastic Surgery. What are their interaction? What are those new meeting and the future of this well-established organization, which finally reached to a point of having a junior member. As all of us are aware, the importance of having juniors inside of society is very, very important. Nowadays, most of our activities are going on, especially, for example, for the European Academy of Rhinology. Juniors, everyone knows. And we very excited to hear what are the news in regards to the European Academy of Facial Plastic Surgery. So I will leave the torch to Rishi. For anyone interested, please, I remind you to type your question and we will reply to those questions at the end of the presentation. Please, Rishi, share your presentation now.
Perfect. Can you see that okay?
Perfect.
Perfect. So, well, good afternoon from England, from London. Thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Rishi. I'm an ENT surgery registrar in London. And I've relatively recently been appointed as chair of the junior section of the European Academy of Facial Plastic Surgery. But, as I was saying, thanks so much for inviting me, Puya, but thanks even more for attending this talk. It really means a lot to me and my junior colleagues in the EAFPS. So today my talk is entitled The Junior EAFPS Committee, Our Plans Moving Forward. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to provide you with a sense today of what EAFPS Juniors is, the aim of this new committee, the plans we have going forward, and the progress we've made so far over the last few months, and how you can really engage with us and get your junior trainees to engage with us as well. So EAFPS Juniors is basically a section of EAFPS, of the European Academy of Facial Plastic Surgery, that aims to serve trainees, i.e. those people who are those surgeons amongst us who are still yet to become consultants or attending surgeons. And this includes trainees in ENT surgery, in ophthalmology, maxillofacial surgery, plastic surgery, people who are essentially aspiring facial plastic surgeons. And the new committee was launched last year, and it basically at the moment consists of a overall chair, which is myself, and then we have a training lead, which is Diego on the left, and Vaisal, who's the communications lead. And the aim of EAFPS Juniors is to assist in the training needs of junior members and to really contribute and help their development as world-class facial plastic surgeons. And being a trainee myself, I really thought, how do I best achieve this? How do I help my colleagues in this aim? And I spoke to a lot of my colleagues across Europe and I reached out to them, and we put together some plans to help achieve this overall ambition. And these include having a mentorship program with senior surgeons mentoring junior surgeons across Europe, establishing a European Academy Facial Plastic Surgery research collaborative that is led by juniors, provide education in areas that are not typically covered by trainee surgical curriculum, and having regular tailored training webinars for junior members, and also developing the junior section of the EAFPS website so that we as juniors have more of a place and position formally within the society. And over the next few slides, I'm going to talk you through these different plans and outline some of the progress going forward. So the mentorship program, this basically involves us developing a database of senior fully qualified facial plastic surgeons across Europe with information on their location, areas of specialist interest, and their contact details. And the idea is that this information will be accessible to all junior members, and they can use this as a springboard to actually identify mentors in their country or outside of their country to help guide their training and assist in things like fellowships, but also at junior levels of training. And this is something that a lot of my colleagues have asked for. A lot of my colleagues or trainees across Europe sometimes struggle to find mentors in their cities, in their towns, that can really help guide them in facial plastic surgery. And this is a way in which they can link up with people who will definitely be interested in mentoring them. So that's one of the key ideas here. And we're actually in the process now of compiling a list of enthusiastic senior facial plastic surgeons who actually want to mentor junior members. And then this would be a fantastic area in which juniors can make contact and take things forward. The second key area that we'd like to address is developing junior research collaboratives for facial plastic surgery embedded within the European Academy of Facial Plastics. And we're in the process of developing collaborative multi-center research projects led by junior members, which I'll give you some examples over the next few slides. And this will help provide and produce meaningful research, which can helpfully improve research skills of junior members and also make a difference to facial plastic surgery. And importantly, we'd have a shared authorship model where all people who contribute to any research will be authors in all publications and presentations. And there are actually many examples across medical and surgical specialties in my country, in the UK, whereby trainee collaborative research projects are very, very successful, adding meaningful contributions to the scientific literature, but also to trainees. For example, in the UK, I'm leading a trainee collaborative on sudden sensorineural hearing loss. And that's a study that's basically aiming to develop a prognostic model for patients that present with sudden hearing loss. And this study has almost no funding, but it's taking place across 74 hospitals across the UK. And we've already recruited 650 patients in a year with sudden hearing loss. So it's likely the largest cohort study on sudden hearing loss in the whole of Europe already. And we're doing this in this trainee collaborative way, harnessing the power of trainees across the country to get patients recruited on and hopefully develop a very meaningful research project. Another example that I've been involved in was a study on epistaxis, where we recruited almost 2,000 patients in 1 month across Europe, across the UK. So, recognizing the power of trainee collaborators, I was very keen to make this a part of junior EAFPS. And nothing like this has been done in Europe. And EAFPS is such a fantastic springboard to have multi-center research. So with this in mind, we wanted to develop something quite simple where we could showcase the strength of multi-center collaborative research. And one of the things that we are about to launch is a pan-European cross-sectional study of rhinoplasty. And this project that's led by EAFPS Juniors and supervised by the executive board, the senior executive board, aims to basically provide an overview of rhinoplasty practices across Europe, helping to inform future research, but also clinician and patient decision-making. And to my mind, there was a paucity of data looking at rhinoplasty practices across Europe. Typically, it's individual centers publishing information, but I thought, and my colleagues thought it'd be good to have a snapshot of information across Europe just to provide just some initial insights into rhinoplasty practices. And this would be a very simple study. It would be, as I said, multi-center study where fully qualified EAFPS surgeons would be asked to anonymously complete an online questionnaire. And I, as I stress, it's anonymized. And that would relate to rhinoplasties that they performed as a first or supervising surgeon over the last 3 years, basically. And it will include information and collect information on the location in which surgeons operate, the total number of primary and secondary rhinoplasties, the proportion that are open or closed, information on cosmetic or functional indications, information on whether or not patients required revision surgeries, indications for revision surgery, and also information on whether or not a psychological assessment was carried out. Analysis will be a very simple descriptive analysis, not looking to draw any far-reaching conclusions. It's a simple presentation of our findings, really. And as I mentioned, this is a study that's the brainchild of junior members, that the data collection and analysis will be by the junior members, so really led by the junior EAFPS members. But all collaborators, so all the surgeons who contribute data, will all be co-authors in all publications and presentations. And we really hope that this project will help provide quite simple data, but that will hopefully inform rhinoplasty practices, but also importantly showcase the strength for the first time of very large multi-center research across the whole of Europe, really making the most of this fantastic platform, which is the European Academy of Facial Plastic Surgery. And it's a very straightforward study, but we hope we could just use this as a tool almost to showcase the strength of it, so future research projects can come out from this new sort of paradigm and platform that we're trying to create. So that's one of our core activities, and we're just in the process now of launching it. We've developed the protocol, and over the next few days we should be starting the data collection, and it'll be fantastic perhaps in the future to provide you with updates on our progress on this simple but hopefully interesting study that is a new way of doing things. The next plan that we have is to provide education on quite important areas that are not typically covered by our surgical curriculum. So I think trainees interested in facial plastic surgery really recognize that the landscape of facial aesthetics is really changing, and that's going to impact our future careers. And indeed, it's something that's already impacting the practices of existing facial plastic surgeons. And my colleagues have fed back to me across Europe that they really want to plan for this so that they can meet the needs and demands of their patients, rather than complete their training and then start trying to learn new skills that are not embedded in their curriculum. And two areas that we'd like to provide education on that typically falls outside of conventional surgical training is non-surgical aesthetics, and also the use of social media. So for instance, the field of non-surgical aesthetics is an area showing considerable growth, with annual growth to be around 15% each year over the next 10 years or so. And some of the data in the US shows that their market size is scheduled to double to around $20 billion by 2028. With huge amounts of activity in America, in Europe, in Asia, and the Americas in general. So it's a really, really growing and expanding market, and that a lot of my junior colleagues have written into us saying they want some more exposure to this field, and they don't really get exposure to this field. And as facial plastic surgeons, or for juniors as future facial plastic surgeons, we really need to recognize that this field is growing. And it can be potentially complementary to our surgical procedures with good outcomes for patients, and potentially providing a holistic approach. And this is the one thing we're doing. We're trying to provide more more training courses which are delivered via EAFPS for non-surgical aesthetics, recognizing that it can complement our role as facial plastic surgeons in the future. The other area in which we're providing training to our junior members is on social media, which is something that is definitely not typically incorporated within training programs. But whether we like it or not, we have to accept that the social media is really changing the way that patients are accessing information on different procedures, on the clinicians they'd like to see, on the centers they'd like to visit. And it's also changed the dynamic and the way in which clinicians communicate with their patients, and indeed with each other, and the way in which clinicians are showcasing their results. And we have to realize that social media, again, whether we like it or not, it probably attracts wider readership than our conventional routes of publications. However, that's obviously not to discredit robust scientific publications. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I feel, and my colleagues, junior colleagues feel, it's good to be trained in both, not just in one, because that's how what patients access increasingly.